Now that we have our application pulling a list of all of our to-do items using a get fetch request, we are now going to move over to our to-do item create component where we are actually creating new items. And we're going to modify it so that it pushes the new to-do to the database first before it returns it to the API through the pub sub. Now, if you remember, we have this function right here, the to-do item create handler, that expects a to-do to come back when on this particular channel, the channel that we're using, which is this to-do item created channel, when that channel is invoked and something is published to it, our handler is going to get called as a subscriber, and we're going to get passed the new to-do, and then the to-do is going to be added to our list, and then the state is going to be refreshed, and it'll be redrawn with our new to-do items, just like we're doing right now. Before this gets called inside of our to-do item create component, we're going to need to go ahead and, before we fire our event stating that something was created, we're going to go ahead and actually push it to the database first. So here's our submit handler. Here is where we are publishing that a new to-do item was created and we pass the state. But in here, we're not actually saving that to-do to our API yet. So we're going to need to do that before any of this stuff happens. And the way we're going to do that is we are simply going to do similar to what we did in this API or in the app.js. We're going to make sure that we pull in the API base URL. So let's go back up to the top here, and we're going to pull in the API base URL so that we can use it. And then just like the fetch that we did down here, we're going to do that one. We're going to do the same thing over here in the other one with some minor differences. So let's go ahead and copy that, come back to our to-do item create, and inside of our submit handler, before any of this stuff happens, we need to make sure that we have a successfully saved object to our database. So I just pasted that in. Let's go ahead and indent that a little bit. Now, since we copied this directly from our app, we are really just doing a get to our to-dos URL, which is what we see in Postman right here. What we need to do is change the HTTP method from a get to a post. And we want to specify that what we are posting is JSON, not text. So to do that, we go back and we look at our API documentation for fetch and come back up here where we can see our configuration object and all the options that we can pass. And we're going to do that right here by passing this configuration object, which is this right here, and then the body using JSON stringify, and then we're going to stringify our object. So let's start out with the configuration object. So we need to change this. So we're going to go ahead and add the configuration object as the next parameter to our fetch, because this is our first parameter. This is our second parameter. And in here, we're going to add the configuration options that are important to us. So we're going to do method post. So this one is important to us. So I'm going to copy and paste it in. And then down here, the headers with a content type set to application JSON. This lets the browser know, or sorry, the API know, that the request coming from the browser is going to have data in the body, which is going to be in JSON format. So let's go ahead and add that one here. Let's delete this comment right here. All right, so we have our URL as the first parameter. We have a configuration object that is now specifying that we are going to use a post method, and we want the headers set to a content type of application JSON. And the next thing we need to pass is going to be the body. So right here we can see the body equals JSON stringify. And it looks like I moved outside of this. All right, here we go. So comma. Now we're going to specify the body. And the body that we're going to pass is going to be a JSON stringify on the object that we just created. Now, if you remember, the object that we just created, if we look down here at our older code, is the this.state. It holds pretty much a definition for our object. So really what we're going to pass right here is going to be this.state. And that is going to be the object that gets passed as a result of this request that is being made. I'm going to go ahead and tab these in a little bit so that it looks better. All right, that's good. And then we still have our request handling, so our promise handling with the then and the catch. But this time, instead of doing a this.setState with the to-do items list, we're going to go ahead and we are going to now report back that new object that was created. We're going to report that back to the app.js using our publish subscribe functionality that we have right here. And then we're going to go ahead and set the inputs to blank and then set our state to blank as well. So I'm going to go ahead and cut those out because we don't want them to happen outside of a successful response. And of course, it's not pasting in nicely formatted. Let's go ahead and do that. All right, so now we see that these promises are going to be handled if we get a successful response back. Then we're going to parse the body into JSON. And then with that JSON body, we're going to go ahead and instead of sending this.state, we're going to want to send this JSON body because this is going to have the object with the new ID, which is what we need. Because in our app.js before, we were manually handling the setting of the ID. And we don't want to do that anymore because we're letting Mongoose create our unique IDs. We're going to leave the rest of it the same, but get rid of that setting of the ID. And now we're going to return that new object once it is stored, and we're going to publish that an item was created to our pub/sub channel to do item created, and then anybody who's subscribed to that channel will get notification that a new one was created and they will be passed that new item that came back. We'll set our form fields to blank and then we'll set our state to blank in preparations for adding the next to do. If we end up with an error, we're going to log that error and we're going to log that error here. In a real application, if we weren't quickly moving through this, you'd want to handle that error and set notifications for the user and all that good stuff. But we're going to bypass that right now. Now it looks like we've got a compilation error here. Module not found can't resolve .lib config. So let's come back up here. And right now we're in our to-do item create, which means we are a couple of nested folders down from lib. So we need to do // Nope, we just need to do a // and now we should be able to get our config. Maybe we need another one, // There we go. All right, so we needed to move up 2 folders. Oh, it was obvious because it was actually right up here. We saw the same thing. So I should have just looked. All right, our config is pulled over. We've got our base URL. We are using the base URL right here to compose the to-dos path or endpoint to our API. We've switched it to a post. We've set the content type so it knows we're sending JSON. We've stringified our state into a JSON object, and we're now handling the responses. Everything compiles. Now let's go see if we got any errors. So let's go back to our React app. I'm going to refresh just for the fun of it. Now we're going to see if we get any crazy errors. So I'm just going to do a test one. Click submit. It looks like it got published. If we look at our console.log, looks like our notification handler was called as a result of that publication to our pub/sub channel. And we got a new item back with its own unique ID. And then, of course, because the state of our app component changed due to the notification, our application refreshed, and now we have our new item in there. Cool thing now is that it should have been persisted by our API to the database. So we come in here and refresh. We should see that 4th object there, or 4th item, or 4th to do. And when we refresh, we should see it in there. And of course, we've got it in reverse alphabetical order in our API, so I don't like that. So we're going to go change that in our API. So let's go to our to-dos router. I'm going to set this to a +1 on the name. Reload. And then let's come back to our API, refresh. And now the R is back down at the bottom. And now it's alphabetical, top to bottom, A to Z. See if we can add a couple of more without any key errors. And you can see right here the event fired. Click submit. And it looks like, here's our old error when we didn't have unique keys. And now we can see that no matter how many we add, we don't get unique key errors anymore. And that is because since MongoDB is handling all of our requests to add a new one, it's automatically adding unique IDs. So now let's come back over here to our API. We've got ID. And now let's come back to our code, come back to our front end. Now, right here, when we are iterating through our list, let's come back here really quick. When did this one get called? Because when we're iterating over our list, so we need to go to our to-do item list component. And here we're doing to-do.id. And it looks like inside of our actual objects, when we print them out, it's underscore ID, not regular ID. So we need to change this to an underscore ID for our key. So now let's come back, refresh. No key errors. In fact, that wasn't an old key error that we saw. It was a current key error. Let's go back and see that. You can see we're still getting a key error, and that is because there is no ID on our objects anymore. It's now underscore ID, which is what we get back from our database. So we just needed to go into our list, update this to underscore ID, and now we get no errors on that. So go ahead and refresh. And let's go ahead and add a couple more. And you can see no errors whatsoever. All of our calls are happening. If we go to the network tab, this is a really cool tab to be looking at. When we're making calls, we'll actually be able to see all of our fetch calls as they happen inside of our application. So I'm going to set this to XHR, which stands for all of our XML HTTP requests that happen. So all of our AJAX requests. And here we can see a fetch request. You can see that right here, fetch to-dos / which shows you the full path is our localhost 8080/to-dos. And when we click on that, we can actually look at the request. So here's the request URL. We're performing a get. It came back with a 200, meaning everything is good. And then in the response, we can actually see, if we click on preview, we can see a well-formatted array of all of the objects that we have added to our database that represent to-do items. And now we can look at a post as well. So let's go back to our network, close this one. And here we can see the list up here. So let's go ahead and add another one. Click submit. And now you can see down here, we're doing some fetches. And right here, we click on this fetch right here. It's a preview. It's calling options. And this one right down here is the post. So we are now doing a post to our to-dos resource in our API. And we can see that we are passing as the payload our new to-do, which was this HHH one. We can see that that's the payload. And then we can see the response that comes back is the new item with its ID from MongoDB. And if we go to our compass, refresh, we should see all of our new items. And down here, the latest is our HHH one. So be familiar with this awesome network tab in Chrome, especially when you're dealing with making XML HTTP requests or AJAX requests, also known as fetch requests, across the internet to an API, and you want to see if, number one, it works, so you're getting 200 OKs on there, or if you're getting some other error like a 300 or a 500. And then you can click on it and actually see what's happening. You can see the headers, make sure everything is functioning properly. When you're making a post request and you're not getting this data back, it's most likely because you are not setting the header that specifies that the content type is application JSON. Instead, you're getting text returned and you're not parsing it as JSON. So make sure you pay attention to that. Right, so that is doing a post with fetch to an API.